If you've looked at building a new computer recently, or even just tried to upgrade an old one, you've probably felt a kind of physical shock when you got to the memory section.
Oh, yeah, the sticker shock is absolutely real.
We are diving into a market that hasn't just seen a simple price hike. It feels like it's undergone a total structural snap.
And, the numbers completely back that up. We've been tracking the data from sources like TrendForce and Ars Technica, and it's brutal.
How brutal are we talking?
A standard 32 gigabyte DDR5 6000 RAM kit in August of 2025, it was hovering around $80.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
By early 2026, $340.
Wow. That's more than a fourfold increase in less than a year.
Exactly.
The scale of that is just hard to process. It means the RAM alone could cost more than your motherboard and CPU combined. So our mission today is to figure out why this happened, because it's so much more complex than just a temporary shortage.
It is. We're seeing a total structural shift where artificial intelligence has completely redefined what computer memory is worth. And maybe more importantly, who gets to buy it?
So to understand that mechanism, that snap,
Yeah.
we first have to, I guess, define the RAM family.
Right. For this deep dive, we have to treat RAM not as one single product, but as a family of 3 distinct products that are all fighting for the same very limited manufacturing infrastructure.
Okay, so first up we have consumer RAM. That's the standard DDR5 sticks you'd buy for a desktop or gaming machine.
Then there's server RAM. It's also DDR5, but it's built for ruggedness, for scale, for that 2047 reliability you need in a data center.
And finally, the new power player in the room, HBM, high bandwidth memory.
And this is the really specialized high-performance memory. It's used exclusively for these powerful AI accelerators and GPUs, the kind that drive the big, large language models.
So the price crunch we're all feeling is basically these 3 fighting for space.
It's the direct result of intense competition between them. You have this dual problem, explosive, almost infinite demand from AI.
Right.
Colliding with a manufacturing base that is being actively pulled in a different and frankly much more profitable direction.
Okay, so let's start with that root cause then. The sheer insatiable appetite of AI.
That's the one. The culprit for this whole market shift is the emergence of large language models. Think ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, all of them.
And they all need these massive, always-on data centers just to sort through information and generate responses.
And it's not just a drain. It's an economic siphon on every single resource. High-end chips, electricity, and, most critically for this discussion, computer memory.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally changing the global market dynamics.
The sources use a great analogy for this. They say RAM production is like a multi-lane highway with a fixed capacity.
Right.
And these massive corporate trucks, the cloud providers, the data centers, they're buying in bulk, taking over every single lane. So everyone else, especially you, the individual consumer, gets squeezed out.
And these aren't just small trucks. Get this. Estimates suggest that OpenAI's Stargate project alone,
The future supercomputer, yeah.
that one project could potentially use as much as 40% of the world's entire DRAM output based on 2024 and 2025 numbers.
40% for one project. That's staggering. It means memory makers suddenly have a new, very deep-pocketed best customer.
And that's the core incentive shift right there. Manufacturers earn their best revenue from huge long-term contracts. So when AI needs this much memory, of course they're going to prioritize the clients who buy the most and who will pay the highest premiums for it.
And this isn't just about bulk buying, is it? It's structural. The AI market started in this training phase, which needed all those GPUs with HBM.
Exactly. But now we're moving into what people are calling the AI agent era.
What's the difference?
Well, this new era where you have these autonomous AI agents collaborating across data centers, it drives demand for not just the specialized HBM, but also for conventional server DDR5. So the demand is broadening across the whole supply chain.
Which brings us to the corporate side. While we're paying 4 times more for RAM, the companies selling it are, well, they're having a great time.
A great time is an understatement. The numbers show this stunning turnaround. Samsung Electronics for Q4 2025 was predicted to post an operating profit of around 13, maybe 14 billion US dollars.
Just for one quarter.
And SK Hynix posted its highest ever quarterly performance in Q3 2025, crediting AI demand directly.
And the irony is huge, because if you go back to 2023, these same companies were seeing profits drop. dramatically.
Because of a massive oversupply of memory. It just shows you how powerful this AI force has been in snapping the market back into extreme profitability.
And it's a very concentrated prosperity, isn't it? There's a real risk here. It's just three companies making most of the world's DRAM.
It is Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. That's basically it.
And that tiny market just got even smaller for us, the retail buyers. Micron made this huge move in December 2025.
They did. They announced they were exiting the crucial consumer-branded business entirely.
Their reason?
Their explanation was crystal clear: to improve supply and support for our larger strategic customers in faster-growing segments.
In other words, they're officially dedicating their capacity to AI data centers, not the person building a PC at home.
That's the message, yeah.
So this move shrinks the consumer supply base from 3 sources down to just 2. I mean, doesn't that just seem like a recipe for price volatility? It really feels like it's increasing their price leverage.
It absolutely raises that risk. When supply is already constrained, you remove a major player from the retail market, and it just amplifies every single shock. It's a clear pivot away from us and toward those big enterprise contracts.
So, okay, let's get to the heart of it, the technical problem.
Yeah.
The mechanisms creating this scarcity. It's not just that AI is buying more memory.
No, it's that AI memory is physically crowding out the standard memory we rely on. This is what the analysts call the HBM effect.
The HBM effect, explain that.
It's the critical insight. HBM is specialized, it's high margin, but the real constraint is physical. HBM uses about 3 times as much space on a silicon wafer as the same amount of standard DDR5.
So for every 1 stick of that fancy HBM they produce, they're physically sacrificing the ability to make 3 sticks of the conventional DDR5 we use.
Exactly.
Why on earth would they do that?
Economics. Plain and simple. If HBM costs 3 times more to make but sells for 10 times the price, and with current AI accelerator pricing, that's often the case, that sacrifice is an obvious business choice.
The higher margin justifies losing all that volume.
Absolutely. And that intentional sacrifice then creates a severe scarcity, which causes the spillover effect.
Okay, the spillover effect, what's that?
Well, the HBM shortage is so acute that only the very biggest tech companies can get a guaranteed supply. This forces the slightly smaller enterprise and AI server buyers to settle for the next best thing.
Which is conventional server DDR5.
Exactly. These buyers have the deep pockets, but not the priority access to HBM.
And that large-scale enterprise demand just consumes all the memory that was originally meant for the consumer market.
It becomes a vicious tiered competition. The biggest players get HBM. The mid-tier enterprise buyers fight tooth and nail for server DDR5. And that leaves individual consumers
Fighting for scraps or paying these massively inflated spot prices.
and the raw component market shows it perfectly. The spot price for a single DDR5 chip, it went from about $6.80 in September 2025 to over $27 in December 2025.
Wow. A 400% increase on the base component in 3 months.
That's the spillover effect in action.
There's another analogy that helps here. Think of the global RAM supply less like a big river and more like a system of water pipes.
Yeah, that's a good one. If only a few valves, the suppliers, control the whole flow, then even a small adjustment, like redirecting production to HBM, sends prices surging everywhere downstream. It makes the whole retail market incredibly fragile.
And fear is fueling it too, when big buyers like PC OEMs expect prices to rise.
And they do. TrendForce revised the expected price growth for Q4 2025 up to a staggering 18 to 23%.
So those buyers start inventory hoarding, stockpiling, which just makes the shortage feel even worse for the rest of us.
It accelerates the cycle. So if we connect all this to the bigger picture, the outlook, it's not great in the short term. We are in for a long crunch.
And how long is long in semiconductor years?
Forecasts suggest this is going to persist beyond calendar 2026. It could potentially extend into late 2027, maybe even 2028.
And the reason for that is you can't just flip a switch and make more memory.
That's absolutely right. Building a new memory fabrication facility, a fab, takes at least 3 years. Samsung and SK Hynix are scaling up HBM and planning new fabs, but their major expansions won't be operational until mid-2027 or 2028.
So they're playing the long game, which does nothing for the crisis right now.
Nothing at all.
And there's a weird profitability paradox emerging now too, right?
There is. Initially, HBM was way more lucrative. But because server DDR5 prices are rising so steeply from that spillover, analysts now project that the profitability of standard DDR5 might actually surpass HBM3E starting in the first quarter of 2026.
So what does that mean?
It means suppliers will be encouraged to allocate more resources back toward conventional server DDR5. The result is that high prices get locked in across the entire market. Even if HBM pricing stabilizes, DDR5 stays expensive.
This all raises a huge question about external risks. We've sort of identified three major knowledge gaps that add a ton of uncertainty to all this.
Yeah, the first one is a geopolitical ticking time bomb. RAM relies on the semiconductor backbone, and the core of that backbone is Taiwan.
Taiwan accounts for over 60% of global foundry revenue and an incredible 90% of leading-edge chip manufacturing.
And leading edge is key here. That's the most advanced manufacturing needed for these high-performance AI chips and memory,
So a major disruption there.
is what analysts call an apocalyptic scenario for the global computing supply chain. The risk isn't just a conflict, it's that the specialized ecosystem to run those fabs can't be moved or replicated quickly. The concentration of risk is a huge blind spot.
That's a huge knowledge gap for you to explore. How resilient are the supply chains outside of Taiwan? How long would it really take for US or South Korean efforts to dent that dependency?
Precisely. The second knowledge gap is the AI bubble itself. All these forecasts rely on AI demand continuing to grow at this gargantuan rate.
But what happens if that projected AI bubble bursts, or even just deflates a bit?
Then the memory makers could suddenly find themselves sitting on massive stockpiles of unsold chips, just like in 2023. And that would trigger a dramatic, sudden collapse in prices, a very painful downturn for them.
And the third knowledge gap.
It's the hidden production bottlenecks. It's not just about raw silicon. It's the specialized advanced packaging needed to stack memory vertically, things with names like COFOS and NFO. It's the precision tools for the new fabs.
So these smaller, overlooked choke points are really what's limiting the ability to ramp up capacity.
Exactly. Understanding those choke points will tell us when this crunch will truly start to ease.
Okay, so to synthesize all this, the RAM market didn't just get expensive. It snapped. It was a collision of forces.
Right. Massive AI demand, especially this shift to the agent era, coupled with that intentional production redirection to high-margin HBM.
That created the spillover effect, which pushed enterprise buyers into the consumer DDR5 pool. And it was all amplified by a concentrated supplier base that can set and maintain high prices.
Memory has officially moved from being a cheap, abundant commodity to a really unpredictable strategic resource.
And the discussion often focuses on PC builders and gamers. But here's our final provocative thought for you. The real consequence isn't just higher consumer prices. If DRAM prices keep rising by 33% or more in 2026, the question for every CFO is going to be, at what point does relying on the public cloud become fiscally irresponsible compared to buying and maintaining your own hardware? The rising cost of memory is about to reshape the strategic decisions of every major enterprise.